evening, good evening, good evening. Who concedes a last-minute goal and then fights everybody in the entire stadium because of it? Curtis Jones, that's who. But he's not here tonight, so it's the handsome four Beatles, the Baldles, as we should be called, for Thursday night. We have a special one tonight. We've got Brian, Suzie, and Cozzy, as always. We will talk about that game, and we will talk about the game ahead, but we've got a nice special treat, which we discussed, I believe, the last time, possibly on air, definitely off air. But how are we, lads? We all ready and rearing to go for this?
Yes.
Yeah. It's Thursday. Let's get through it. But here's what we're going to talk about tonight. We'll talk about the last Merseyside derby at Goodison, and I still have yet to see anything more than the highlights. Then Room 101, a thing in George Orwell, and a very funny comedy quiz show type thing in the BBC in the 90s and the 2000s. We're going to have our own version called Room 433, and then we look forward to the Wolves game. But first of all, I'm assuming at least one of you lads watched the entire game. I had to keep track of it on the live score. I saw us go down. We went down a goal early, and then Alistair gets it back, and then Salah gets it, and then like from what it sounds like, 5 minutes of injury time would have been enough, but somehow Michael Oliver decides to put Fergie time at the end, Moyes time, so that to get that equaliser. But overall, we on Tuesday in the EPL panel show, we came to the conclusion that the team set up against Plymouth Argyle only works if you beat Everton. If you fail to beat Everton, then it was a calculated risk that didn't go well. Is that, Brian, do you think that is something that holds true? Or do you think we actually should have won the game and, refereeing decisions and very dodgy watches conspired to get us that draw against them?
It's really hard to say right there. I mean, should we have won the game? I think if everybody played the way they should have, we thought they were going to play, and we would have came there and not got dragged into the way they play, I think that we should have. We had the better side, and we should have won. The problem was right there, we got sucked into the way they play, and we got sucked into a slugfest, and it was a street fight, and we got mixed into it. I mean, we can go on and on about Michael Oliver's calls and what he did through there, because it was so suspect right there. With that, and for the PGMOL to go in there and actually go back and say everything looked fine and dandy, which it seems like they are at the moment. Right there, there's got to be some questions, and I called that on the post match yesterday when I said that we're the best league with some of the worst officiating there is out there, but. We had to come there and rotate these guys for Plymouth Argyle. We had a good enough side out there at Plymouth Argyle. We should have beat them. Everybody. This was an underperformance right there with them. And you had to rotate. You can't come there and play these same guys all these matches at there and expect them to keep on performing. But it was a calculated risk. You had to rotate, so I don't think it was really a risk. I think that we should have won both these matches. And if you look on the paper right there, even though it doesn't count on a derby, we should have won these matches.
Suzie with your trendy tracksuit top there, which is actually fantastic looking, I have to say. But it was suggested by the good bods of Rodney Marsh and Tommy Smith on Sirius, but a point was made that against Plymouth, he could have at least had some of the top players on the bench. I think we've discussed before how dropping so many players can actually ruin the momentum. But again, having not seen the full game, was it a case that we started slow and that maybe that some of those players could have done with minutes before, maybe the last 15 minutes against Plymouth to keep them ticking over? Or was it just always going to be one of those, it's Goodison, it's Everton, it doesn't matter what you've done before, it's just going to be a dog of war game regardless?
Yeah, I don't think they're too connected. I think Slot did what we've been begging him to do, and which was to rotate players. With the players on the field against Plymouth, you look at the forward line, they should have taken care of that game. It is what it is. I don't think. Yeah, I mean, we could have had Salah and Vivi, and Virgil on there or Kanate in there, and one of them get injured. We brought Gomez in, and he was injured after 20 minutes. So and now he's out for the rest of the season. So you just don't know why take that risk. The Everton game was bigger, much bigger, and probably the biggest game of the season. And if you still go on to win the league, no one's going to care about what happened at Plymouth. I mean, I made a comment the other night about avoiding Man City, but we don't need any more of our players to be mixed up in games, tough games where potentially they can get injured. This running is way too. February alone we have 5 huge games, and then you've got internationals in March. The two are completely unrelated. And yesterday, again after the post match, I said I'm just over it. We didn't lose, which was the biggest thing. It's a game that has no rationality, and obviously, all of us who watched derby games for the last few decades, there's no rhyme or reason within games. We could have won that. Kanate was fouled in the last minute and they scored the equaliser, but he also got away with a handball, which maybe could have been given a different VAR ref and so forth. I'm more disappointed in players like Robbo, like old heads that we knew. Slot blatantly said in the pre-match that in the first 20 minutes, Everton last season got about 20 free kicks or whatever it was. And yet we have Robertson, the leader, one of the leaders of the team, just blatantly pushing players in the back and giving away stupid free kicks. And Everton are good at set pieces. So we did play into the hands. We played into the occasion. For all the faults that the referee had, we gave him we allowed him to make them decisions, and we put the game into the referee's hands. So it is what it is. We got away with it. Best thing that came out of it, Salah, another goal, we didn't lose. And Jones, for all the crap that he gets from fans, is one player who went up against three Everton players last night. And that's it. We just move on. And, Slot. The best thing is that we didn't lose, but Everton have to come to Anfield on April 2nd. And they've pissed off enough Liverpool players and fans that game is just going to be. You thought yesterday was hot. It's going to be hotter on April 2nd.
Kazi, as our resident Scouser, there was a period when I was growing up where the Liverpool-Everton rivalry, especially evidenced in 1989, it was a fierce rivalry, but the tagline was always, unlike other rivalries, your brother could be an Everton fan if you're a Liverpool fan. Your dad could be a Liverpool fan while you're supporting Everton. There was none of this street against street kind of thing. And I certainly bought into it. I thought it was a special thing to be a part of. But it always seemed to me that when Joe Royle became the Everton manager and brought that whole Dogs of War thing, that kind of ended. And there was a sneeriness and a low classness almost to Everton support. So what that brings me to, if you agree with that at all, is what happened with that fight last night. All I know is that I can't remember whichever player it was, but went to the Liverpool fans to gloat about the last minute equaliser, which is such a low rent thing to do. It's a rivalry and all that, but it's, to me, that seems like a typical modern Everton thing to do. They didn't win the game. If they won the game, that's one thing, but they drew with like a mysterious phantom minute equaliser. But as Sir Z says, Curtis Jones was the one that went up and wanted to sort people out. We need more players like that, don't we? We need players that understand that there's a fight going on. You can't be shaking hands and swapping jerseys at the end of these kinds of games. There is supposed to be a degree of enmity in this game, isn't there?
We, as a team, in my opinion, are far too innocent. We don't have that grit in us. We're just too honest a little bit. I've got no issue what the Corey done. Might be controversial. I've got no issue, but I also have no issue what Jones done. because every action has a reaction, and you can't like. And by the way, both of them got sent off, and quite should have been both should be sent off. I probably believe that the Corey should be probably have an extra game suspension maybe because you could have incited a riot. So yeah, there's a part of that I always think about as well. But going back to I'll get to the history and stuff. Liverpool didn't win a derby for 10, 11 years in the 90s. Just didn't win a derby because we were absolutely appalling. I think actually the Gary McAllister derby that we always talk about is our first win in like 10 years in a derby. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
So I think the hatred and the history is kind of grew tenfold because Everton have been crap and Liverpool haven't. It used to always be like a nice friendly derby because we used to always kind of challenge each other and there was always kind of that little bit of banter between each other. But both teams were half decent. And it's hard seeing your local rivals win loads of things and you're kind of not winning anything. And I think that's kind of stemmed from there. Going back to again, Everton's celebrations for the goal and stuff like that, I have no issue with it. Everton are deprived of success, massively deprived. And their biggest game of this season, every season, is Liverpool. And I have to take my hat off to Everton in a weird way because I wish ours was like that. Because the way that we played yesterday, it didn't fucking feel like our biggest game of the season, lads. Because we were appalling. Appalling. And again, no lessons learned from last year. No lessons. You did exactly the same shit. I said to these lads on our pre-match, we're going to find out about these lads. We're going to find out who you are. I said to them about Ryan Gravenberch. I don't know if Brian remembers this or the lads do in the pre-match. I said, you'll find out if you're good or not. It's all right strolling around and all. Against crap and all in Ipswich and you look the world. You've got to go to Everton play. But you just got hooked after the hour, fella. You got hooked on the hour mark. That's what the manager thought of your performance. When your other centre midfielder partner was booked, he hooked you. So, by the way, this is not me digging out Ryan Gravenberch. I actually thought he was all right in the game. I didn't think he was that bad. I actually thought he was all right. But that's what the manager thinks here. Dominic Szoboszlai. It's okay, you swanning round and fixing your hair and looking handsome. And you look gorgeous. Appalling again. Really bad on the ball. You cannot be that wasteful. Every time we went down, just looking at the ref like this. Get off your fucking ass and run. Because by the way, because you're not very good on the ball, at least run. Because that's all we're paying you for, is to just run 12k a game. We may as well sign fucking Mo Farah. Honestly, they're not fucking fool. You play. Honestly, I'm Canate didn't learn from last year. What they're going to do to you? No, you want to win every battle again. So what do you do off you? Oh, you better all just run off you and score the first. Oh, but he fouled for the second. Be stronger. It's a push. Yes, it's a push. But if he's strong and really wants to win that header, he wins the header. I'm sorry, gents, and this might be harsh. Mark, when you go back and watch the highlights back, look at that second goal. Szoboszlai standing next to the Corey. The Corey only brings the ball. He's standing next to him. Doesn't he make a challenge? Doesn't he want to get close to him? Make it hard for him. He lets the Corey bring the ball out and just pass it out to Mikalenko, who crosses the ball in. Like Andy Robertson, experienced left back, one of the best left backs of our generation. Why are you getting booked like that? You've been booked for the most simplest booking of all time. But what does the manager have to do then? Oh yeah, he has to sub you. Kostas has to come on. Kostas is Kostas. Gets brought into the defence. Where's James Tarkowski for the goal? It's just so Luis Diaz. Jesus Christ, fella. You're getting paid 60 grand a week and you're asking for more. Jesus Christ, fella. We should be putting a point in between the 6 and the 0. How much you should be on? You're appalling. Absolutely appalling. If Liverpool get 15 million for him out of Barcelona, mate, I'd carry him there myself. Because my God, lad, you offer nothing. And again, always playing out of position. It doesn't mean you can't have a good first touch. It doesn't mean, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean you can't look up when you've got the ball. Oh, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I'm frustrated, mate, right? Because you didn't learn anything from last year, and that's why. Now, going back to the positive part, I would have took a point at the start, and the result is fine. It's the performance that's the letdown. It's the performance. And going back to it, by the way, it's just so... To fall into the same traps as you did last year is really bad. I'm sorry, it's really, really bad. We are the pretenders. At times, we really are. And I said this to the lads again. The result's fine. Liverpool might get over the line. But that team overall is not a team who's ready to win the Premier League. But you might just win it by default. You might win it by default. As I said to the lads, and again, I don't mean to be harsh here, the Alex Ferguson team of United with the 13 league titles, about 6 of them they won by default. Default. Look at the last team that won the league. It's one of the worst teams ever win the league, United, the last team. Liverpool just could be that. I'm not losing my head because of the result. It was okay in the end. oh my God, mate, there's some of these lads have to fucking shape up because the next 3-4 games, honestly, you are 4 games from destiny. Literally destiny, in my opinion. Let's go out, put a button under it now. You go and whack Wolves and then you roll into Villa and see what happens.
Brian, do you think that my kind of impression after the Plymouth game, like once the vapors dissipated, was that Slot almost had a continental attitude to the cup, where the cups are not as important as anything else, and didn't realise the cultural significance of the FA Cup to English teams. Is it possible he didn't quite understand the cultural significance of the Merseyside derby? I mean, you can be told about it all you want, but unless you actually experience it, it's a completely different beast.
I mean, he has derbies also. I mean, there's some pretty fierce derbies in the Eredivisie also. So I think he understands that. I mean, especially in Rotterdam. I mean, you've got some pretty decent little rivalries that go through there. I mean, even with the PSV and Ajax rivalry that happens through there. So I mean, there's lots of things there. I mean, it's just different with the Merseyside derby. I mean, it's something that you don't know what to expect right there. I mean, if you're a new manager, I mean, Benitez found out when he went there and all that, even though he went on both sides of the aisle right there. Klopp found out. I mean, Goodison's not a good place to play at. I mean, and Kazi said that last week, when we came there and talked about it like that on the and all that. It's not a good place for us to go at. I mean, now we basically came there and won two matches in 10 years, and
11 now.
No, 11 now. Yeah, in 11 years. So 2 matches in 11 years. I hope there is a live recording of Goodison Park getting imploded, because I will make sure I'm watching it, because to be done with that stadium is going to be a good thing. And again, like I said also yesterday, I do think that them going to the King's Dock is going to be a whole different experience for them right there. I think that Goodison is their own little fortress with us, looking across Stanley Park and seeing and doing it, it's going to be different for them right there. They're going to lose a lot of that emotion that's tied into Goodison Park, and it could be a bad thing for them. I mean, we saw that with West Ham going to the Olympic Stadium. I mean, you saw the same thing. I mean, you saw that with Arsenal going to the Emirates for the first couple of seasons right there. It's not to move from your ground to another place. It's hard. You saw the City when they went from Main Road over to Imtiad. I mean, it's hard. Yeah, Spurs. It's hard. And so you know what? And I think that with Slot, this is a learning lesson for Slot. This is something for him to learn, that with this type of volatile situations that you get into, because Everton weren't there to go there to help us out at all. They were there to go there to win, grind results, and a point to them is 3 points is basically 3 points to them. They know that they're the worst side, but they came there and drug us right into that mess, and we fell for it. Like Kazi said, second year in a row, we fell for it. I mean, and so we got what we deserved.
So see, I want to ask you about that because Brian made some good points. Those moves to those new stadia, and see, I used the correct word there. To those new stadia, it changes the atmosphere. As somebody who does audio engineering as part of his job, the value of acoustics is important, and I always felt that English stadia, again, correct word, English stadia, Scottish stadiums, just for fun, but they were built for people. They were built for the turnstiles back in the days, so they were really close to the pitch. There's no television to watch later on to watch the game, so by default the experience was maximized, but also the sound reverberated around the ground. Whereas modern stadiums, they seem to be designed by designers. So this looks sleek. Look at the curve on this roof. You could drive a bike around. This looks fantastic. but there's no atmosphere. To kind of move away from Liverpool for a brief second, do you think Everton are going to lose some of that cauldronness that Goodison had, as much as it was a crap stadium structurally? But that was part of their fierceness. Almost was the boo. You know, imagine being booed in a ground where the sound just doesn't escape. It's probably still there today, but that like stadium move could actually reduce their effectiveness a little bit. Do you think?
Yeah, I think one of the best things that FSG did was not to move ground and just to keep us at Anfield and just build that ground. Yep. You look at the new stadiums; they're not solely built for football. They're built for concerts. They're built for NFL. They're built for everything else to bring money in, and it's a business. And you know, Anfield, we still have that. We still have that football legacy where, you know, we might have like, you know, your Taylor Swift concerts and here and there, but ultimately we're still a football stadium, and that's why everyone's envious of us, and that's why everyone tries to copy that atmosphere. But you can't do that in a business model stadium, where your sole purpose of building that stadium is to bring ticket revenue, not just for games, but like I mentioned, you know, concerts, your fights, your UFCs, whatever it is. And so Everton are going to go the same way. You know, they're run by business people. They're not run by football people. And so they're not going to be able to emulate what I had at Goodison. And thank God, you know, whatever happened yesterday, it was just destiny. Yeah. It's just destiny. Yeah. And, you know, it's the last Merseyside derby at Goodison. And you look at us, it was, you know, no one is an outright winner between Liverpool and Everton. And it was just meant to be. It was just destiny that we can't say to Everton, well, we beat you more than you beat us on your own home ground. And you look at the Spurs ground, we've won more games against Spurs at White Hart Lane than they have against us. They've only won one game against us since they've gone into that new stadium. So they can have that new stadium. That, you know, we've seen when we didn't have our fans during COVID, we lost 7 home games on the trot. Mm-hmm. And so you can't underestimate the power of the fans. And no one, it's not just me being like rose-tinted glasses, but everyone says it. You know, you got Wenger, you got Mourinho, you got even Guardiola. Like the acoustics and the fan base at Anfield, you can't match that. And that's one of the best things that FSG did was to keep us at Anfield.
Macka, I want to mention that, right, about Goodison, because I think it's really, very important because of the moment of the game, right? I'm heartbroken after leaving that ground. It's just another dagger into the world of like a modern football. That is a proper football stadium. And Mac, you know, again, if people aren't, because I know people who listen to this podcast are not from the city and not from, you know, that side of the world. It's a proper football ground, man. It really is old school still. And it's just, it really is. I know football has to grow, and I know everything has to grow, and you have to go to a bigger stadium, and you have to get that revenue in, and I understand all the reasons why they're going. It is made out of wood, and but it's just so sad. And that's why I love like Fulham and Craven Cottage, that old school feel when you go to do you know what I mean? Where Goodison's been such an equaliser for Everton over the years. It really is an equaliser in terms of what he can do to teams. You know what I mean? I remember when Pep Guardiola in his first season, I know he weren't great, they showed it there and he got whacked 4-0. Do you know what I mean? It's just that, like, Pep Guardiola gets whacked 4-0. Like, I know it's a bit of a thing this season, but for the 6-7 years before this season, that wasn't a thing. Yeah. But he went to Everton and got whacked 4-0, and it was like his biggest ever defeat. And it's just sad that that's going. You know what I mean? In terms of a Liverpool thing, I'm happy, of course. Liverpool might go and win some more derbies over at their place. But it is a really, really sad. And this might be like, you know, I don't know, the romanticism in me. I'm kind of not happy that they got the equaliser, but it's just kind of like a nice little tie-off. Listen, mate, I'm in the city. I've been in the city, of course, and what they've done for us, mate, in terms of Hillsborough and things like that, mate, they're always our brothers still. And it is nice in a weird way that we did tie the wins, and it was like a thing, and they've had their moments, and they'll replay that moment for years. And the romanticism in me, I'm really gutted that the fucking ground's going, lad. I really am, and it's going to be a sad day. Because, again, when you look at, like, Harbury going on White Hart Lane and Upton Park, it's just, you know what I mean? I'm kind of glad, and again, going back to the ownership, that they decided to stay at Anfield because it is such an equaliser for us as well.
Maybe by moving to the new stadium and modernising, they'll change their entrance song from Z Cars to the Swede.
Oh, definitely not. No, there's still the police. They still like to gash it up. For some people who don't know, the What Z Cars, which was a UK TV show about the police in the UK, so that's why we call them a gang of grasses. There you know.
So here's what I want to go to you, Cozzy, and then we'll go to Brian. Is we are now only 7 points ahead going into the weekend.
Only 7.
Only 7. But we were we not at 1 point, 13 points ahead? Am I misremembering that? Were we not that?
I think if we would have won the other games now, maybe, but I can't remember. But no, I don't think we were ever that far. I think we could have went there, I think, and we drew. I think we could have went to that.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah,
11 points was max.
11 was the max, but we could have went to 13, but we drew or something. I can't remember. But yeah,
that's the point I want to make, because I've agreed with you about this point for a long time, and you've said it over and over and over again. It's not losses that are going to kill your league title challenge; it's the draws. We have to snap out with this fairly soon, don't we? This propensity to draw in the last few 10 games maybe. We have to get back to having some sort of killer instinct. Now, we've discussed how Randy Slott's fitness regime is a lot kinder on the body than Klopp's ever was and Linder's ever was. Do you think now the time for intelligent, cerebral, let's have a bit of examination of what the other team's doing, football needs to be put by the wayside for a little bit, and then just start taking teams by the scruff of the neck and letting them know you're playing Liverpool today?
Maybe. It's hard this much because, listen, Liverpool 7 clear, and we should all be fucking made up with that, by the way. That's like an amazing thing. But the manager's still learning on the job. I always think about this. This is the manager's first Premier League season. He has no idea about the intensity. He walked off that pitch after fucking we beat Spurs and went, that was amazing. Oh, by the way, you're taking Villa away next week now because you just beat Spurs. And he's probably like, you what? That wasn't a part of my plans. I wanted that week off to prepare for City. So he's just learning about the intensity as well, Mac. You know what I mean? And I get that as well. And again, the manager's going to make mistakes. And again, I think he made a mistake yesterday. That's his first derby. And he's going to make he's made mistakes, I think, in that game. I think taking Gravenberch off just because of his size alone, and he wasn't booked, was a big decision. And I think it was a mistake. And I think he'll probably realise that. Klopp made mistakes in his first derbies, by the way. And he kind of got it together. In the end, especially at Anfield, he just treated them with sheer disdain by just starting Shaqiri and Origi and beating them 4-0. I went, I'm not even getting my first 11 out for you, which is kind of hilarious. I think it worked out, by the way. This is a start. I know I'm kind of going off a bit of a tangent and I get back to it. That he started only Manny, Salah and Firmino in 2 derbies, which is absolutely outlandish. That he's just treated with that much disdain of like, no, I'm not even asking, now I'm resting him. And you're getting whacked anyway. And that's what he did. But going back to listen, I am a bit nervous about the next 4. We will know if Liverpool are going to win the league in the next 4 games. We will know then. I think if Liverpool come out of this 5 points clear in the next 4, I think we win the league by a landslide. I think Arsenal will be giving us like a round of applause and the guard of honour, basically, when they come and play us at Anfield. I think it could be that bad because I think Arsenal's heads will fall off. I think with their injuries, because right now they've only got 3 players who can play up front, which is Sterling, Trossard, and Nawani.
I mean, their heads is all they have left to fall off. Their legs are already in the physio.
Exactly, Phil. I mean, and again, and I just think psychologically, now going back to the reason why draws kill is if you have back-to-back draws. So if Liverpool go out and beat Wolves, you got 4 out of 6 at Everton away or Wolves at home. That's all right. But if you go and draw with Wolves, and you only got 2 out of 6, that's where the killer comes. You don't know where to draw. If you don't know if a draw is a good result until the next game or the game after. Do you know what I mean? So, for example, if Liverpool draw with Villa but beat City, you'd go, you know what, lads? We got 8 points out those 4 games. Not bad. You just don't know. It's always based on the next. That's the issue with the draw. Again, it's happy that Wolves is now and not Villa away, innit? Do you know what I mean? It's happy that Wolves is next. That's where Wolves at home is a good one to have next. But the killing instinct in that fella, right? I think that it's all going to come back. I just think the manager just needs to pick a striker. It's time to pick a striker. Yeah. Like he doesn't do Jota yesterday. Or does he do Jota? I can't even remember. But I know he did. He does Jota yesterday. Jota takes about 6 players on at one point in the second half, and I was like, oh my God, he's going to fucking do this. But I think he has to do Jota now. I think you need to just get the striker on the pitch that you want. You don't want Darwin on the pitch, clearly. You don't want him on the pitch because you did Diaz for 90, now you just done Diaz again. So against Plymouth, and now you just done Diaz again. Just get Jota on the pitch and let's see where we're at. And I think that's when the goals start coming back and things. But, going back to the main one here about this game, Salah was so bad, but then scores and gets an assist. Like, it's just a joke how important he is to this team. And going up that FA Cup might come down to be the best thing that's ever happened to us this season. Going up that FA Cup.
Yeah.
Brian, I'm going to give you the last point on the Everton game. And I'm going to make the usual Thursday night comparison with Brendan Rodgers. Arnie Slot got a red card. Sorry, he's off for 2 games unless some sort of appeal thing happens.
The Premier League tweeted it was 2 games, but now they've taken down the tweet.
I saw that. Yeah,
got away from a lot of his referee report because he might have just said, "Listen, I just want them off the pitch." It might just be one, but there might be a point where Johnny Heitinga is our manager in the next game, which is absolutely absurd. That would be funny. There we are.
Here's the point I want to make, Brian. Brendan Rodgers was one of his, many flaws. For all the good things he potentially could have done, one of his many flaws, he was too pally with everybody. It seemed like he was too eager to be liked by everybody in the football world. Whereas all of our best managers absolutely had needle with the refs. When Kenny Dalglish was probably one of the best ones. He was one of the snidiest people in press conferences about referees. And I loved listening to his. What was the famous one he did? It wasn't about referees, but somebody came up to interview him after Liverpool won the league and asked him about something Alex Ferguson said, and he handed Kelly Dalglish over to said, "You get more sense out of her than Alex Ferguson." But Klopp had it. Gerard Houllier had it. Rafa definitely had it. And now Arnie Slot has it. I mean, it's a good sign, isn't it? That the manager is not. He's passionate as much as because he might be right about making mistakes in judging how this league goes. He definitely knows one thing now. That's the refereeing is incompetent.
Well, he's Dutch. That's all I can say right there. I mean, we all know. I mean, if we've actually sitting and saw how Dutch managers / Dutch players / Dutch anybody work, it's their not an easy friendly group at times right there. And I think that it's a good sign right there. And Slot definitely doesn't go out there and see. He's very calm and collective and. In a way you can see his head. It's like internally busting his head. I mean, you can see from his press conference what you said right there, when you go back to a player, yeah, he did okay, but he should have done this. Those type of things like that. And that's what I want right there. I want constructive criticism, and I want if somebody can't take a handshake and say, "Hey, guess what? You had a crap match," and you throw the red card at him for the most part, I mean, Michael Oliver, as an official, as a professional, should understand right there when you have differing opinions of him. I mean, it wasn't like he came there and slapped him in the face or anything. He came there and basically said, "Hey, you know what? You totally missed a call. You came there and caused a problem right there, and I didn't agree with your thing." And with a hand and a what's considered a rough handshake. And you know what? Michael Oliver should have been the bigger person right there and understand exactly right. It should have been the bigger person as an official on the pitch right there and said, "You know what? I know it's a lot of emotions in this match," and move on. And then been done with it. I mean, but Michael Oliver, just like Howard Webb, want to be the center of attention at all times. And that's exactly what he did. He put his name in the headlines for good, bad, or worse right there. And that's exactly what English officials have become for the most part. That same thing. They become bigger than the match. And, that's a problem. That's a problem.
I wonder if Oliver's ever done any part-time work with the West Midlands Police. He certainly has to look for it. So here's the next bit. This is the fun bit. It's room 433. How it's going to work is, I will start with Suzy. You're going to pick any part of this current Liverpool season that you want to get rid of. You want to consign it to room 433. Room 101 is the George Orwell from 1984, a room where things go to disappear. But here's the thing, you got to sell this to us, and I get to decide whether you have to keep it or whether it gets consigned to that room forever and ever. And where Thiago lives. And Milo, Arthur Milo, and Chiesa. So what part of this season, what individual moment or decision or overall mood would you like to get rid of a consigned Rule 4-3-3? Bearing in mind, the lads can argue with you.
Yesterday's game's too obvious. So I'll go for the Liverpool Man United game. It was just the game that the whole world thought we were going to absolutely trounce them, like 4-5-0. And the worst part of that game, our two Scousers on the field were non-existent. We let Man United control that game when they had no rights to control that game. We let a stupid Smurf-looking midget score one of the best goals that he's ever scored against us. So that'll be the game that'll go into Room 4-3-3 just because, one, it was Man United, two, the way our players performed, and three, the Scousers didn't turn up.
Anybody have any disagreements with
I
this?
have to rebuttal this. I think taking 4 points off Man United every single year, Sergi, is more than satisfactory. I think there has to be a level of respect there. As much as Liverpool didn't play well, I do think that 4 points off those lads will always be fine with me. You know, as much as Liverpool didn't show up when we were absolutely appalling again, 4 points is fine with me, fella. And if anytime we can put, a couple of goals past them, it's okay with the big lad over here. But there we are. I think
Brian,
I don't know if I've got a correct answer, so you can go with Brian next.
Yeah, Brian. Do you agree with Saziz's pick there? Or do you disagree with him?
I'm kind of with Kazi right there. We've been taking a nick on those guys for a while, so you know what? I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I don't think it should be locked away right there. I mean, it was a bad performance right there. I mean, it's not anything I can say that I would want to lock away though. It's still a point.
Joe, by the way, another thing I want to add to that, by the way, we will always get one of my favorite ever memes of Lisandro Martinez going mentality didn't get that by fighting 2-1. So
Sazid, do you have any defense for it?
No, not really. It was like shit put on the spot. So that was the first thing that came into my head.
We need to plan this a bit better, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, because it's like I said yesterday. For sure, like every season going into the season, I'm just going to count every Man United Everton game as draws, and anything above that is a bonus. So so that was my on the spot. Given the thing again, I'll probably take the Newcastle Kelleher.
No, you can't start changing now, fella.
You can't start changing now, so.
Oh, well, there you go.
Just because you had a fresh hair, I give him you're the boss and everything now. Here's the thing, Susie. I think the two lads make a good point. 4 points off Manchester United every year is not a bad return at all. So you have to keep that Manchester United game now forever and ever and ever. Put it in your back pocket and look at it every now and again. Especially when we win the league.
Things. I saw the Arsenal-Liverpool game too when they won 2-0 in the last minute. So that's the worst of all.
Brian, what is your Rule 4-3-3 pick? What is the moment or game or performance or press conference that you want to get rid of and make disappear from this season forever?
Playing Luis Diaz as number 9. It's been a mess the entire time that we've dealt with this right there. I've never seen anything that's come of good of him being in the number 9 spot. I mean, he's basically still wiggles around. He doesn't come in there and actually go in, and he doesn't. He runs at players. Doesn't have an end production at the end. I mean, at least when he was on the left side, he actually pulled players to that, over to the left side. In the middle, totally ineffective. And and again, I don't even know why. I mean, I understand he doesn't want Darwin on the pitch right there. We all know that right there. I mean, this is Thursday night, so this is the ultimate Darwin Nunez fan club night. On here. I know he doesn't want to play him. And I know that Jota right there is made of glass right there. But shoot, I go there put Mo up there as a number 9 spot right there, and put somebody on the right side right there before we keep on doing the same experiment. Same thing over and over and over again. We're putting Diaz in front and not getting anything out of it.
Let me just say for everybody, we didn't put Cozzy in room 433, just if anybody's wondering. He'll be back. And Spencer Stewart, we will never put in room 433 because he's with us every week and we love to see it. And if you want to be a cool kid like Spencer Stewart, make sure you're liking and subscribing and getting all those notifications. So Louis Diaz as a number 9, Suzy. Does Brian get to keep that, or does he get to put that in 4-3-3? I mean, bear in mind he did score quite a number of goals at the start.
No, I think Brian keeps that one because the first time he did it, he got a hat trick, and that was our first hat trick since Salah got his hat trick against Rangers back in like 1974. So he's performed well. You know, it was needs must when he was made number 9. We had Nunes injured, Jota injured. We didn't have any other option. And, you know, if you don't try something new, you will never know. So, no, Brian keeps that one.
But let me say, has he performed better than Paul Warhurst did as a Blackburn left back being played up front when Shearer and Sutton were injured? Because if he hasn't, then he's in a bit of trouble. That a left back with the worst haircut in history till Graham Lassell came along was also equally good as a striker. Cosy, do you agree? Louis Diaz is number 9. Should Brian get to keep him, or should he be consigned to room 4-3-3?
It's a very, very great option, but it's also the wrong answer. I think as much as Luis Diaz frustrates me and annoys me and I don't rate him at all, and I would sell him to Barcelona for a bag of peanuts, I don't think Luis Diaz being in the 9 has to be our first entry into room 4-3-3. I do believe that Luis Diaz will become useful when he eventually leaves Liverpool. He becomes more useful to my mental health by watching him at another football club, frustrating the fuck out of them instead of me. But as much as Luis Diaz, he did contribute to hat-trick, as he said, playing in the number 9 role over the famous Bayer Leverkusen. He lost 1 game of football last year, which was a very, very big, important win, which allowed Liverpool to go out with a load of kids to PSV. And if we didn't have that, we'll be starting lads against PSV. So no, Luis Diaz can survive for this week, at least.
Brian, mate, it's been a long journey with us for the Thursday Night Podcast, but I got to agree with the lads. You're keeping Louis Diaz, and in fact, he's going to turn up at your house in his number 9 jersey and sit on the end of your bed and creep you out from now till forever.
Yeah.
Cozzy, will you be the first one to get somebody into room 4-3-3?
I mean, seeing as this is the Thursday show, and we already know, but my option to go into room 4-3-3 for the first time is Darwin, Gabriel, Nunes, Ribeiro. And the reason why I'm putting forward Darwin, Gabriel, Nunes, Ribeiro is because he might be one of the worst players I've ever overall seen in terms of value for money play for Liverpool. The joke's over now. We don't need to play him anymore. It's just over. It was a funny joke at the time. A couple of years ago, it was kind of funny. It's no longer funny. We are now into season 3 of Darwin Nunes. And Darwin Nunes will have a big moments to say in the season, but overall, he is not good enough to play for Liverpool. I am fed up of watching him. I am fed up of seeing him. I am fed up with the chanting of Nunes, 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 because he does something that a basic footballer should do. This is not difficult. This is not hard. Now, I was on slim pickings because this has been a great year for Liverpool. If you would have asked me last year, I might have had a bigger list, but also Darwin still would have been at the top of that list, even if it was last year. And the reason why I've also voted for Darwin is, based on his performance in last year's derby, it's still very fresh in my mind. And my God, it still sticks out like an absolute finger in the pudding around the dinner table. It's something that you don't want to see. Darwin Nunes.
So, Zay, do you have any arguments to that at all? I mean, like, on one hand, technically he is crap, but he's also incredibly enthusiastic and seems almost likable sometimes, at least when he's not on the football pitch.
I'm the wrong person to ask. I still like Darwin Nunes, and he's.
What you like?
The two goals against Brentford, probably one of the best moments I've had this season. He probably gave me 2 of the best moments last season against Forest and Newcastle, scoring in the last minute. And the price tag isn't his fault. You know, he didn't set that price. We paid it. Julian Ward decided he was worth that. That's not on Nunes. Could he be a much better player, or has he got the potential to reach some heights? I think he has, but he hasn't shown it yet. And to Kaiser's point, I think this is his last season anyway. I think if you see the latest thing on Twitter, what he put out, and he's talking about Saudi money, I think if Liverpool accepted that bid, he'll be gone. I think Nunes is like Kazi. I think he's probably had enough himself and just knows that he needs to make that change. So I think Kazi and you guys' wish is going to come true at the end of the season. We just couldn't afford to let him go. But he did give me, he made my watch go off trying to call 911, thinking that I've fallen over because I'm jumping around like a loon. So, and that was the best moment, one of the best moments of this season. So, no, Kazi Gibson.
I will say, though, when you mentioned St. James's Park and everything, that was last season, and we were picking up options from this season. I just want to mention he's given us
all this season. It was
okay. But go on, Brian, please.
Brian, we've had a long storied history with this player. Do you see any redeeming features that will keep him out of Rule 433?
Okay, so we all know how we all feel about a certain Darwin Nunez right there. He frustrates the living crap out of me every time he gets on the pitch right there. I mean, it's like he has got better without being offside every time he's on there. So he's got better there. The problem I have right there is, it's a weird thing. I mean, if I go strictly by football reasoning right there, I mean, which we do, it's got to be definitely with Kazi right there. I mean, but I do also see that I don't mind Darwin on the left. I don't mind him out there out wide because I think he's actually pretty useful out there in that situation. And also what Sir Z said, he's gone in about a couple months anyway. We all know that. That train is over with. So it's hard for me to go out there and say, but in the overall right there, he's a number 9. He's supposed to score goals, and he misses easy goals all the time. Scores these weird like worldy goals that that is out of things right there. But ultimately right there, yeah, he's in room 433. I mean, I'm sorry, I can't. I mean, I understand where you're coming from there, Sir Z, about he doesn't do his price tag and all that, but you're a number 9. What's your job? Score goals. And I've watched him come there, miss sitters. I've watched him miss headers. I watched him get untimed runs so many times. Yeah, I've been over Darwin for a while. He's a likable character, but this it's about football, and so yeah, he's locked up in the room.
And also, let me put my one extra little cherry onto this case, please. This is also getting rid of a lad who's just liking things on Instagram about AC Milan. Getting rid of a lad who just takes all the Liverpool things off Instagram because people call him shit, and it's very sad. This is also getting rid of a lad in his and literally last week just did a thing you with Luis Diaz saying, "Oh, I want the Saudi money and whatever." So just please leave the football club. I will also argue then, if you want to bring up last season, that if he would have took his chances, Liverpool would have brought the Premier League. But there we are.
Well, and that brings me on to the point that he's a number 9 striker, and he may not be able to help the price that was paid for him. But if he's a number 9, he should still be getting shots. And he's gone several games without getting a single shot, not a shot on target, without getting a single shot. So for that reason, Kazi, he's going into room 433.
Get in there. And Joe, we're going to play him in 1-3 on the left, so he's out the way.
So he's out of the way, or left back in the dressing room.
He's out of trouble. Yeah, there you go.
Right, so with that said, that's Darwin Nunes. It's the first one into room 433. We'll start thinking about more things for the next edition of room 433.
Can we just have general Liverpool next week?
General Liverpool. Yeah, maybe we'll do that for next week.
It's been such a good year. It's slim pickings. You know what I mean?
That's a good.
I'm surprised no one said the contract situation.
We're not allowed to talk about that, but we are allowed to talk about this. The game at the weekend.
What contract situation? They're all fine. Tied down 5 years.
I think Commission will ban us if we start talking about the contract situation.
He's a top red, isn't he?
We're being monetized now.
I think there's a little button there that says end stream instantly if that comes up on the AI, if that phrase comes up. But the game against Wolves the weekend. So say we talked a little bit about it in the Everton review, but I'm kind of with Cosy, but I'd say I'm not a 4-game person. I think if we win the next 5 games, that's it. It's done. Give us the trophy that day, because I don't think that we would have to have a collapse of epic proportions for any team to get in there. But it's not going to count for anything if we can't beat Wolves. If we cannot beat Wolves at home in a game that demands a performance, and the result, I'm not even looking for a 1-0 or an Arnie Slot special of 2-0. This needs to be a signpost performance as far as I'm concerned. But do Wolves have any potential to be a banana skin? And how important do you think this game is for you?
There's always potential for any club to be a banana skin, and that's just mainly because we don't know which Liverpool are going to turn up. Yesterday was the most important game of the season, but I think now Wolves is, just mainly because of what happened yesterday, and I'm sure Arsenal are going to, despite having no strikers, I think Arsenal are going to turn up to Leicester and win at least 3-4-0 and cut that goal difference down. So it is important. I don't care about the performance. I just want them 3 points. Where even if it's a 1-0 own goal in the last minute, I just want them 3 points. And yeah, I mean, it'd be great to win the rest of these games as well. So Salah can enjoy his Ramadan in peace, and he doesn't have to perform for March or anything, and come back April, and we get his guard of honors. But no, it's this is really a must-win game, and I don't care how we win it. We just have to win it.
Cosy, you talked about Manchester United quite rightly, I think, and quite astutely, that they very regularly, if not often, definitely regularly defaulted themselves into titles. But they defaulted themselves into titles by beating teams like Wolves. That was the key thing. That's what we didn't get right for so long. Like under Souness, under Roy Evans, even a little bit under Gerard Houllier, where we could win the big games, but then we lose to QPR the week later. So this really is it's a game that we need to put a stamp on, don't we?
I mean, yes, it's a massive game of footy. It really is, because we play after Arsenal. So there's an Arsenal chance. Arsenal could be 4 points behind. Like every game's massive though. Right now for Liverpool, they really are, and we should give Rolls respect because they've won the last 2 with 2 clean sheets. And I know one was Blackburn, but it was still Blackburn away in the cup, because I actually watched it. Yeah, because Blackburn should have the goal at 0-0 and no VAR, but anyway. And they beat Villa at home, which is that bit of a derby for them. So we have to give them respect there. The manager's kind of gone, he's got his three at the back going. But if Liverpool is, again, if you're serious about winning the league, you've got to win. It is just what it is. It is what it is. You just have to win. There's no excuses anymore. You've had your draws. You've had your little fucking tough January. And you've had a few little iffy ones in January. There's no more excuses now. We can always swallow everything. We can always swallow drawing at everything. By the way, a lot of fans should anyway. If you can't, you should. Because I understand how big that game is. And I just think if you're being serious, I'm not as confident as you lads, about Arsenal getting the win. I'm not, and I don't think it's as slam dunk as that. I just think that early kickoff is a bit weird, isn't it? I always think that it always throws a little bit of a weird one, doesn't it? The early kickoff and no striker. I can see them toiling a bit in the game. They might score later on and win 1-0 or something, and that can happen because that's footy. But I was quite impressed with Leicester for 45 minutes against United. I know United are a really bad football team, like really bad, but I was quite impressed with them. I thought he looked all right. I thought he got Ndidi on the pitch alongside, is it Sumari, I think, played centre mid with them. And they looked really solid as a centre midfield too. And I think if he goes with them again, I think Arsenal could really struggle in terms of breaking them down. I don't think it's a slam dunk as you think, but in terms of just making a stamp, Macka, I don't agree with that as such fella. I just think we're at the stage where we just got to get over the line. I don't care how way, I don't care what way you get over the line these next 5 games. Yeah, if you look at Southampton at home, I'll probably say I want a performance there. That's the one. But Wolves have won 2 on the bounce, good side, make it hard for you. I think Liverpool will win, but I do think it'll be close.
Brian, what do you think?
I mean, the deal with Leicester and Wolves, they're both fighting for that last spot to stay alive. I mean, because I think pretty much everybody above them right there is pretty close to being safe at the moment right now. So it's just down to that 18th position right there, and that's a battle right there. So I think what could happen right there is if Leicester come out there and actually get a point out of this, it could make it a little bit more difficult for us with the Wolves match. If Leicester get a win, I think that Wolves have to win to kind of stay in tandem with them. If Arsenal beat Leicester, I think that it will be a little bit more relaxed right there for Wolves. Either way, right there, I'm like Kazi. I just want this to get over the line. I mean, I don't care how it happens. I just want 3 points. Show some fight. I mean, because again, like we talked about with the Everton match, there are players that are missing. I mean, right there, get back on the pitch. I mean, go back there. I mean, I said right there before the night that Szoboszlai right there was if he had a good game right there, I think that we would have probably had a different result yesterday. But he was abysmal. I mean, completely abysmal, completely lost, completely gone in that match right there. So I need to see fight. I need to see drive. I need to see Szoboszlai go there and do what he does by going back and pulling defenses apart right there, and letting the front guys go there and get in behind them, and those type of things. I need to see Gravenberg. I need to see our midfield put their stamp on this again. We don't have this emotional thing right there that we had at Goodison Park that we had, So let's just take care of business. Take care of what you have to do, because by going up against clubs that are fighting relegation is never an easy thing. I'd rather go there and go against a club that's sitting in 13th position than go against one that's an 17th or 18th any day. Because I mean, they're fighting for their very survival right there, and I think that it could turn into, if we let it could turn into a dogfight, and so you just have to go there and make sure that we don't let it happen. You go in, you go there to put your stamp on the game, get up with about 2 goals in the first couple minutes. I mean, because their defense leaks goals. Yeah, they've got 2 in a bounce right there, but they have problems right there. I mean, if they didn't have problems with defense, they wouldn't be where they're at. So do what you have to do, score early goals, put this thing to bed, and then and then move on from this right there. I mean, it's again, Villa to me right there is just going to be so tough. I mean, I'm just looking ahead right there. I'm worried more about Villa than I am about City. I mean, I think that Villa is a resurgent side right there with new signings that want to go there and show something. So for me right there, win this match. Go there. If we can get through this and get through Villa and have 6 points out of that, and then if we take a draw out of City right there, I'd be fine. I mean, it wouldn't hurt my feelings one bit. Yeah. But we just got to take care of what we have in front of us, and and I want better performances from what I saw yesterday.
Do you have a pre-lineup score prediction and an impact player?
I'm going the same lineup as yesterday, but I have Jota down the middle. And yeah, the Diaz experiment, and I think it was just done as a needs must because of Jota's injury. And as much as Diaz is a shit number 9 and Nunes is a shit number 9, Jota has to take responsibility for that as well, because he's unavailable, and it's down to him. So he's as culpable as the other two. The other two are just culpable because they just don't have the talent to be a number 9. But Jota has it. He just doesn't have the talent to show up because he's just made out of glass. And so, he is as much as fault as the other two. Gakpo needs to turn up. He didn't turn up yesterday. But I think my biggest question would be whether Trent plays or Bradley plays, because Trent was kind of forced into the game yesterday because of Bradley's booking.
Yeah.
So that's a question mark I have. Just seeing the players go off the field yesterday and like Verge go off yesterday, they look really pissed off. So hopefully they can take it out on Wolves. I'd go for a 2-1 win, a nervy one. I'm just more nervous about the Arsenal-Leicester game. I don't know why. I do think Arsenal will win it. I think they'll get a big boost from what happened to us yesterday. But yeah, I do see us winning it, but it's a nervy one.
Brian, what's your score prediction before we see it on items? And who do you think the impact player will be?
I'm I'm worried in that whole entire lineup that they have for Wolves. So their Cunha's a player right there that that kind of like makes me have a lot of thinking. So which means that Gravenberch right there and McAllister really need to go out there and take him out of that match right there. I think that it goes to the same line right there that we talked about Najah yesterday right there. I mean, he got taken out even in there. I thought he was the same type of player right there where he could make an impact and play. I think that Gravenberch is going to bounce back off that, and then basically go back over to whoever is manager. I guess it would be Heidinger right there, and just say, hey, you know what? You shouldn't have took me off in the 65th minute. I could have made a better result. And I think that he's going to show that, and he's going to show a lot better than what he did. I think it's going to be a 3-1. I think they're going to get a goal out of this right there. For some reason, right there, we can't keep a clean sheet at the moment. I don't exactly know what's happening with it. I mean, I know that even in the last match right there, in the last couple of matches right there, it just seems like there's like a little bit of a disconnect somewhere through there with and I want Verge to go out there and stamp that out right there to get that back line straight. But yeah, I still think there's gonna be a sneaky goal in there from their side right there. I mean, again, as I said, playing relegation sides is not easy. It's not a fun time.
Cosby, what's your pre-lineup score prediction, and who do you think the impact player will be?
Disagree with the boys. I think he's making changes. I think you've got to do Kwanzaa now. I think you have to get him into form if you've got no Gomez. I think you need to get rid of him into him. And I think you want to play him alongside the good lads, not PSV when he's playing alongside Endo and Bradley and Costas. Like, you know what I mean? You want him to play alongside the lads. I also worry about Kanata because of the amount of footy. Where if you do him now, then you go to Kanata, you're doing the next three in terms of Villa away, City away, Newcastle at home, which is all Sunday, Wednesday, I think. And then you can go to Kwanzaa, Southampton, and go, you're doing Southampton. I think you need to get that rhythm into him because I'm worried about that. I think he has a big conversations about Costas and Robertson. As much as Costas is absolutely garbage, there has to come a point where Robertson has to get his break. Otherwise, you're doing Costas for 10 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Because we know this is such an intense period for the next four lads. It's so intense. I think you need to get these lads playing alongside the main ones. Do you know what I mean? I think you do Trent, but with a planned substitution on the hour he's coming off. Planned. No matter if it's 3-0 Liverpool, 3-0 Wolves, on a planned substitution at Trent on the hour. So that you're doing Trent, Kwanzaa, Virgil, Costas, I would do. The Jones sub really fucking froze him a little bit, the Jones sending off, because I think Jones would have got to start here. So now he has to go with his three, because we have no one else, which is the three. Because I think Elliott's so far down the pecking order, it's a joke. I think you do Gakpo. I think you do Jota, a bit like the Trent sub, planned on the hour. You are off on the hour, whether we're winning or losing, you're off on the hour. Or you do your Darwin now. So you do your Darwin at Wolves and then do Jota on the half an hour. But you need Jota on the pitch, I think, starting for City. Or however you get him on, you've got to get him started at City. Because the way City are dying in the last 15 minutes of games. Completely dead. They have no legs anymore. They are dead. All the results are showing you that when they're conceding so many late goals. So you've basically got to get Jota on the pitch to get Núñez as your first sub or Diaz as your first sub for the last 20 against City. And I know that's how managers think. That's why I believe that's how they think anyway. So I would do Jota and then Salah, of course. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if he does Kwanzaa, Costas and Jota for this.
What's your score prediction?
3-0 Liverpool.
3-0. Now, thank you.
Yeah,
that's mine. That's my one as well.
Because the impact player is, again, I keep saying it every single week because it's important. It's Dominic Szoboszlai. 6'4", Hungarian captain, 22 years of age.
Can't take a goal kick to save his life.
And he can't kick a football. He genuinely can't kick a football. Like, in terms of play, when he's inside 30 yards, it's like he turns into like fucking Michael Jordan on the fucking game 6 when he's like 25 yards out from the goal. But anywhere else, he just can't control the footing. I just find it absolutely absurd. But there we are, Dominic Szoboszlai.
Maybe he's a rugby player. I got to go 3-0, but I'm going to go Alisson as the impact player. I think he's due a clean sheet. And I think maybe he'll be the one that stops Cunha.
Bournemouth Did he? Yeah, Bournemouth. We got one at Bournemouth, didn't we?
Yeah,
and Spurs, if you count Spurs, but Spurs didn't have a shot, so I don't know if you want to count.
But also, he hasn't been his imperious best.
I agree. He played well against Bournemouth, didn't he? But I agree, he has been off and on.
I think I'd like to see him have a great Alisson Becker game and then getting back on form mentally. It's with the beard. It's the longer the beard gets, the better he becomes. It's just science. So with that said, we will probably most likely have a pre-match for the game, which I won't get to see or be a part of because I'll have to work because that's how our shovels now, one or the other. But we will, I believe, have the morning coffee tomorrow morning. If people are up early enough and don't have to pile coffee and caffeine into them to stay awake for the nonsense that goes on.
Especially those your fucking your boys asleep.
But if you want to know where all these things are happening, you got to follow us on the YouTube and on the Facebook and on Instagram and all the other social media things. And if you really want to know what's going on, then you just have to do what Bickler always says.
Subscribe, smash that like button.
You just got to do that. It's so easy. But Cosby, Suzie, Brian, thank you so much as always. Start getting your thinking caps on for all time Liverpool. For that for the next one, and then we will be back next Thursday as always, and we will be chipper and smiley and bald and handsome. That's just what we do. We are the NSYNC of the ASTV universe. Okay, enjoy your weekend. Don't get caught in the snow. Peace out, everybody. Have a good one, and we'll see you the next time.